This is Behind the Headlines, with behind-the-scenes analysis on issues affecting Pennsylvanians, sponsored by the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy. Now, here's your host.
Hi, from Pittsburgh to Scranton and from Philadelphia area, it's Behind the Headlines. I'm Charlie Greenawalt, Senior Fellow of the Susquehanna Valley Center for Public Policy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Maura Donley. Hi, Maura.
Hello, Charlie. Happy New Year.
Boy, Happy New Year to you, too. And we're almost coming up on one of the most famous days in Pennsylvania.
You must be talking about Groundhog's Day.
I am one of the unofficial holidays. And you know what PETA has come out with?
No, what? I don't know this.
PETA has come out with an idea that we should retire Puxatawny Phil.
Oh, why? Are we
to
being
replace
cruel?
him with a coin flip.
Oh, boy.
That he is being manhandled, and this is just not right, and he deserves to be left in peace, and we should replace him with a coin toss.
We live in crazy times.
Well, that was one of the more interesting things I think that happened. Of course, now we have a House of Representatives that's not meeting because they have a leaky roof.
Oh, my gosh. I've been away, so I missed that one, too.
Oh, well, hopefully they'll be able to fix that
Yes.
in short order, and we'll be back in business in
Yep.
Pennsylvania. But someone who's always been here and always been
Always
working
in business,
and conducting business is one of the stalwarts of higher education in Pennsylvania, and that's Ken Mash, the president of APSCUF, the union for our faculty in the state system
And the
of higher
coaches.
education.
And our coaches,
And the
yeah.
coaches, absolutely. Ken, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to see you again, Charlie Moore.
Well, did you have a good holiday?
I had a fantastic holiday.
Oh.
My daughter came in from Germany
Oh,
and
nice.
got to spend time with all of my children, so that was wonderful.
That's wonderful. Well, we were wondering, there have been many things that have been happening in the off season, and we wanted to, if you would share some of these developments with our audience.
Well, you know, when I first started being president, this is too long ago now, but they told me like there was a downtime. I'm still waiting for the downtime.
I don't know what he's talking about.
It doesn't. There is no downtime. So yeah, this has been a busy season for us. We have for the faculty, we have an agreement in principle for a 4-year contract. So that's exciting
Yes.
that we have that. The coaches, our coaches that we represent, who have their own contract. We're still negotiating that contract, so that's been ongoing as well. We are heading into budget season, which is always interesting. It's a long season,
Right.
budget season is. And, of course, the governor made a big splash with his higher education proposal. So there's a lot going on.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the higher education proposal. You must be happy to hear, at least here, that there's going to be a significant investment in higher education. That's directly from the press release. I think that sounds very promising. How does APSCUF feel about it?
Well, you know, we're very excited that the governor has taken this on and taken it on in a serious way and has made it a priority. And we're not just happy for ourselves, we're happy for students because his recommendation, and one of the major highlights of his recommendation, is to create a new system which would have a more interaction between our universities and the community colleges. And certainly there are things that could be done to improve the ability of students to transfer, to know how they're going to be able to move their way through to a 4-year degree, to be able to know that when they're taking a class, if their plan is to go to to go to a university after their community college experience, that they know what's required of them and that they're not wasting their time taking classes that won't. I'm hoping, and this goes to the point that there's still a lot of details to be worked out, but I would hope that a student who graduates from community college gets automatic admission into one of our state universities. So there's a lot of this that makes good sense. And of course, the governor's focus too on affordability is extremely important, right? We've been working on the Pennsylvania Promise, which is one idea that we've been for some time now. Which would really cut costs for students, particularly in the working class. The governor has a plan to keep tuition down to $1,000 for people making $70,000 or less. So it's in the right spirit of things. It's a recognition that college costs too much. From everything we've been told, this means the governor is saying that there's going to be a big cash infusion into higher education, and we need it.
That's a good thing. Yes.
Pennsylvania needs it because, when you look at the data in the future, so many of the jobs are going to require, either a college degree or some certification. And so we're way behind on the numbers of people that we need in order to be able to be healthy.
And I keep seeing this word disinvestment. There's been a disinvestment in higher education in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, there has been, and this is not, there's been a bipartisan
disinvestment.
I mean, you can go all the way back to the Rendell administration and see some of the struggles that were going on there, and it's always been a battle at budget time. And, unfortunately, because there were major cuts under Governor Corbett to higher ed, that resulted in increases in tuition, which made it less attractive for students to go to college at all. So we're very hopeful about the governor's plan. Of course, we are eager to be a part of the planning process. I think it's important that you have people who are on the operational level when you're doing this kind of planning. To be part of it. So we need staff, we need faculty, we need everyone involved so that we wind up if we're going to do this, let's wind up with the best system that we could possibly have.
Well, Ken, you talked about a cash infusion a minute ago, and we'll be working on a new budget. What would APSCUF like to see in the upcoming state budget?
So,
specifically.
Yeah, because we've had a pattern now of 5 or 6 years of no tuition increase. And really, we have found great partners in the legislature, in the House. We have advocates there who have always been there and have always wanted to do more for the system. We have some very strong advocates now in the Senate, too, for doing that. But they want to keep the tuition low, but they've matched that with an increase in the state budget over the last few years. So really, it's hard to pin down a number. We want to see what the chancellor's presentation is in his budget presentation in front of the two appropriations committees, read the materials, and then we'll be able to see, where are we and what should we, APSCUF, be advocating for.
You mentioned just a moment ago Pennsylvania Promise, which had a lot of promise. So can you remind our readers, our viewers, what that is, and give a little bit of an update about that?
Yeah. So essentially, it would pay for the tuition for if you went to go to community college, or if you wanted for your if you went to the state system school, your tuition would be paid for, not all your fees, but your tuition would be paid for. And if you went to a state-related university, then you would get the equivalent of what you would be, would pay for tuition at one of our schools. And the goal is to get more Pennsylvanians into college, and even to draw people from other areas into Pennsylvania. We've had something of an exodus out of Pennsylvania. We need to start thinking about how are we going to bring students into Pennsylvania. And this is, we have Representative Harris in the House, Chairman Harris, and Senator Hughes, who's the Democratic chair of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. They are the sponsors of the bill. And, when you're talking about a piece of legislation like this, we've been at this for years, but what you tried to see is progress, right, from year to year. If you're involved with policy and actual grinding it out as far as legislation goes, what you're looking for is, are things moving along from year to year? So this year it passed the House Education Committee. So that's a big deal that it passed the House Education Committee. It could go to the floor of the House. We're hopeful that if that happens, then there'll be some pressure on the Senate. If people are demanding this kind of thing. Now, of course, now we have to wait and see what the governor's doing, right? Because I don't think anyone in the legislature wants to, go against the governor's ideas. But it's still out there, and we're still excited about it.
How long do you think the governor's ideas will take to implement? Because there's a lot that has to happen before that actually takes place.
Yeah, I was just reminded that the state system itself, the creation of the state system, took a couple of years to actually get it together.
Up and running.
Yeah, and that originated through the legislature itself, so it was a legislative action. When you have the governor doing this, a lot of it depends. It is, are people on board with it?
Right.
Is the governor truly making it a priority? How are the other things that need to get done? How are they going to roll along? Because we obviously have a real issue with K through 12 and funding, court order to fund K through 12 more. So it's a whole big balancing act. There's a book that was written, The Dance of Legislation, right?
Oh.
Well, that dance is often a slow waltz,
Yes.
right? Like it doesn't move as fast as people want it to move always. But again, a governor who has a lot of energy and is pushing for something can really make a big difference.
Well, Ken, our viewers rely on you to translate things and put them into understandable language for them, boil them down to the specifics. And that is, we talked about the governor proposing an overhaul of public higher education. What do you know about the proposal so far? And what does APSCUF think of it?
So the
What
major
are the nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah, so the major thing that we know about is the idea that the community colleges and the state system would be operating under one system.
That's
It wouldn't be
big change.
It wouldn't be the state system taking over the community colleges or vice versa. So it would be one big overarching thing with two units.
He basically wants an
coming out of
umbrella
that.
organization
Correct.
to cover everybody.
Right. And you would have a board above that would be overseeing how the two parts of the system would be operating. What do we think about it? We have concerns as far as we like to think of ourselves as an association that's interested in higher ed issues and has some expertise in higher ed. So we have a real concern that it be done well and done properly, and that it's really working for the best interests of the students with them in mind. So we want to have input into some of the details that you mentioned, Charlie. And then, of course, as a union, we're concerned like who our bosses are going to be, right? And what does that mean for our existing and future contracts? So we have multiple interests in this.
Where can people learn a little bit more about the governor's plan? Do you have any information on your website about that at this point?
I don't think we do on our website have anything on there, but certainly I know the governor has made a splash. So it's certainly on the governor's website that you can see it.
And we'll
of
learn
course,
more in the upcoming.
Yeah, that's the
budget
promise, that
process,
as we get more towards June, really, is I think the time that they're going to make the big push to do this.
Well, as a very veteran president of APSCUF, Ken, and you've been through this before, you've been in contract negotiations again for more than a year. Can you tell us what the status of what they are right now? What's the status of those negotiations?
So the faculty have an agreement in principle, and that's kind of a term of art, which
Yeah.
means we don't have all the language down and everything, so we can't call it a tentative agreement yet. That's still, even once we have that tentative agreement, it has to be ratified both by our delegates and our members, and it also has to be ratified by the Board of Governors.
That's still a positive note, though, to have that.
Oh yeah,
even
I
be-
mean that's
yeah.
that's the first
Very
step
good.
if you're going to be moving it along.
Yeah.
Our coaches don't have a contract yet, and the big issue for them is job security. And we're talking about something as simple as if you're being evaluated and they're going to make a decision about whether to renew you or not, you should base it on the evaluation that you had,
Oh.
right? Like
That would make sense.
yeah, that it shouldn't be arbitrary, capricious, or discriminatory, the decision, like having that in their contract. Or right now they have a probation period of 5 years, which is really a long time when it comes to public sector workers. So, there's all of that probably won't change, but we're serious about seeking some better job security. And also for some recognition, and we've been talking about respect our coaches, and I was just looking the minimum salary that a coach makes now is straddling the poverty line. So, there needs to be some actual respect for the work that the coaches do.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. We want to thank you for being with us today and bringing us up to date. And we certainly are glad to see that the state and the state system and APSCUF have made great progress. And we look forward to hearing about the continuing progress throughout the new year. We'll be right back with the second segment of Behind the Headlines.
Behind the Headlines is brought to you as a public service by the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors, the largest, most influential municipal association in the Commonwealth. Since 1921, PSATS has been preserving and strengthening township government and securing greater visibility and involvement for townships in the state and federal political arenas. Covering 95% of Pennsylvania's land mass, townships represent 5.5 million residents, more than any other type of political subdivision in Pennsylvania. Additional underwriting provided by the Worrell Corporation Foundation, based in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, by the Edward H. and Jeannie Arnold Foundation, and by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business. Behind the Headlines is also supported as a public service by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Visit pahighwayinfo.org.
Hi, welcome back. On this segment of Behind the Headlines, Maura and I are joined by our State Treasurer, Stacy Garrity. Stacy, welcome back to the program.
Great to be here with you.
Well, you were here not too long ago, and we were talking about the really souped-up program of unclaimed property that your office has brought about here in the Commonwealth. And associated with that is the fact that, well, the state treasurers controls the vault for the state of Pennsylvania, and I've actually been in that once.
Have you?
Oh yes, a long time ago when I worked for the Senate, I was able to secure a visit over there. Can you tell us a little bit about the vault that you operate, and
I can.
Something that's very special that's in there for our Commonwealth veterans and what you've been doing for them?
Absolutely. So, fun fact, we have the largest working vault in the nation, if you can believe that. And it's right in my building in the basement, but it was built in 1939, and at the time it was just under $600,000. So if you adjusted for inflation today, that would be over $13 million. But it's made of 400 tons of steel, and the front door alone is 60 tons. So you'll probably remember, Charlie, that door, about how hard it spun, and it's actually, I say, cooler than the movie Ocean's 11, if you've seen that movie. Our vault is a better vault. But once you get behind that door, we have something that is very near and dear to my heart since I'm an Army veteran. So it's military decorations and memorabilia, and they come from every branch of service, from every major conflict, we largely get them from abandoned safe deposit boxes. And so we've really made it a priority to push getting back these military decorations either to the veteran or the veteran's family, so that we can let them know how much we appreciate their sacrifice that they made for our nation. And so far since taking office, I've had the honor to return 380, and that includes 3 Bronze Stars and 6 Purple Hearts.
Oh my goodness, that is really awesome. And that you can proactively do. You don't need legislation like the money match program. And
No.
Okay,
no,
you can just actively seek out who these things belong to.
We do. It takes a fair amount of detective work.
I bet.
You can imagine. But we don't leave any stone unturned, and we send a proclamation from my office along with the medals. Or if they want to have a ceremony, I'll go to the VFW or the Legion, or one time we did it at the Greek Trinity Orthodox Church for a veteran that had no family. He was deceased. Timothy Morrow Horace, a Korean War veteran. And so Father Michael was gracious enough. We had a ceremony over there, and he and the church family display his medals.
Where was that at?
That was right over at Camp Hill.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's. We've spent a lot of time talking about the unclaimed property, but you have so much more going on. I want to make sure we cover everything. You have something called the INVEST program. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
I can. So we've had INVEST program for over 30 years, and basically INVEST is kind of like a money market. And it's for local government, so we have two different invest funds. One is for local governments and one is for nonprofits. And what the great thing about Invest is it offers same-day liquidity without penalty. If you get on our website, which is patreasury.gov/invest, you can look up what the rates are. So right now, those rates are a little over 5%. And so when you think about it, think about your volunteer firefighters who, they really struggle. And so if they have a little bit of money, instead of leaving it in a checking account, they can move it over to Invest, earn some money on it, and you can withdraw any time. There's no fees, there's no penalties, there's no minimum balance required. And I have found that we don't do enough to really promote our Invest program, because when I travel around the Commonwealth, there are a lot of local governments, a lot of nonprofits that don't know about it. And so what we've just done, last week we hired the first Invest manager that we've had in over a decade.
Well, how does Invest help local agencies and nonprofit organizations, Stacy?
So what they can do is they can basically put their money there, and so then they can, they'll earn whatever the rate is. So right now it's a little over 5%. But the other thing is Invest is managed by Treasury's investment professionals, and it has earned the highest rating from S&P. And so the three objectives for Invest are to conserve the principal, to make sure that these agencies have flexible liquidity, and to contain costs. So it's a really low-cost program. It's only like 11 basis points. So we think it's a way that we can be out there and help our local governments and our nonprofits.
How many organizations are currently taking advantage of this?
There's about 260 organizations, and the total Invest pool is about $1.3 billion. But I think we should have a lot more agencies.
That's not that many.
No, it's really not
it's
that
clearly
many.
not enough.
No, it's not enough. So I expect when I come back on next year that number will be significantly higher, and so will the dollars.
Well, as state treasurer, you also run the Pennsylvania 529 College and Career Savings Program. Can you tell us, tell our viewers, what is the Pennsylvania 529 program?
Yes, so that's the College and Career Savings Program, and it's been in existence for over 30 years, and it's just a great way to save for education. So a lot of families use PA 529 accounts for post-secondary education, but you can always also use it for K through 12. I like to push that it's not just four-year programs. It's community college, it's technical schools, it's apprenticeship programs, and we all know throughout the Commonwealth that skilled labor is very scarce. So we like to say that it's very, very flexible, and provides tremendous tax advantages. So the money grows tax-free. When you withdraw it, there's tax advantage. There's no inheritance tax. And you know what? In Pennsylvania, it does not impact the student's financial aid eligibility. So that's fantastic as well.
How does it work exactly? I mean, how do you buy into it? I mean, are you buying credits? Are you buying?
So there's two programs. So
Okay.
one is the Guaranteed Savings Program, so the GSP. And that basically allows you to buy credits at today's cost for your future. So in other words, you're hedging against inflation. So no matter what happens with inflation, your costs are at today's rate. And then there's the investment plan, and that's the IP plan. And that basically, if you want to pick what option that you want to invest your money in.
Okay. Yeah, this is my memories kicking in a little bit. This was Senator Jubilier's program.
It was Senator Jubilee.
Yes, and it was State Treasurer Hafer who was in the office at that. Barbara
Wow,
Hafer, I believe,
yeah.
and she later claimed ownership of the program.
It's really fantastic because our IP plan, so Morningstar rates plans, and so we are only just a handful of states in the nation that are silver rated. So that just means that our plan, that it's very good stewardship, it's very well managed. So we're really proud of that. So we've had the silver rating now, I think 3 consecutive years. And right now, families have almost $7 billion saved for education.
It's amazing because, I remember being there as it was conceived, and it's really grown wonderfully. And you've cut fees for the Pennsylvania 529 several times. Can you tell us why you've cut fees?
Yes, because we really want to make sure that, education is affordable as possible, for kids and their parents. And so just since I've been in office, we've cut fees by over $11 million. And that's pretty significant. So we waived fees last year and this year for the GSP plan, so no fees. And that combined was, probably $10.7 million. And then we've cut fees on the investment plan twice as well. So that's really important. Right now, the program's just doing fantastically. There's over 280,000 accounts in existence.
And how many? So it's been in existence for over 30 years. So a lot of parents have probably, aged out of it. I'm just curious. What happens if they don't spend all the money?
You can roll it over to, different siblings, grandchildren, nieces and nephews. So it is quite flexible.
Well, that's wonderful. I had no idea you could do that.
Yeah.
Well, Treasurer, how much do you think that Pennsylvania families have saved for education by using these accounts over time?
Just about $7 billion, if you can believe that. So it's a pretty significant number. And like I said, it's going very well. One of the few rated plans. And again, when I'm out and about in all 67 counties, I go to a lot of schools, a lot of community colleges, technical schools, and we push this all over the place.
Do you find that a lot of people don't know about it?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people, particularly in rural counties, don't know about a lot of the programs that Treasury has to offer, which is why we initiated an outreach team. And so last year, we hired our first outreach director ever. And so now we have coverage in all four corners of the state, and we're really doing everything we can just to bring awareness about the great programs that Treasury offers and how they can help, Pennsylvanians.
Well, in the remaining minute and a half that we have, Treasurer, wondering if you could share with the public what the future for the State Treasurer might hold for the State Treasury, what you're looking to do in the next in the remainder of your term.
Okay, well, the remainder of my term, we'll continue to increase transparency. We're going to be pushing Invest. We want to break a new record for unclaimed property. We want to grow our outreach. And really, I travel, so much around the Commonwealth. And it doesn't matter what corner I'm in. When I hear from parents, they want opportunities for their children and their grandchildren, and they want them right here in the Commonwealth. The other thing I do is I do a lot to, to push things that make common sense. I think for Pennsylvania, like oil and gas, technical schools. Most counties I go like multiple times. So I rarely turn down a request.
So you are available upon request.
I am.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here. Look for the State Treasurer in your county in the near future.
That's
But
right.
listen to her more than anything. Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in with us. Be sure to tune in again next week, and we'll see you then.